Today we're working on 608 corn head. These are the new corn heads that came out in 2008. First thing we want to do is I want to show you how to get the snouts into service position. Simply at first, to raise the outer snout, grab the snout and lift it up until the latch is underneath. Once you've got it to this position, that will allow you to adjust the height of the snout. Right here with the stops, there's a slide here to adjust that. If you want to raise the snout up to the full upright position, you want to get down under the snout, put your forearms under here, and grab a hold of this latch. Pull straight out on the latch with both hands, lift up on it, remove the kickstand, put it into the slot, and that's how you get the corn head snouts into service position. We're going to go ahead and continue with our service and maintenance program here with the 600 series corn heads. Once you get the snouts up in the service position, next thing you want to do is take a look at your row unit and take a look at some simple adjustments and maintenance items there. First thing we want to do, we need to check the grease level in our gear case. In the top of the dipstick, there is an Allen head. It's a 12mm Allen head socket that you'll need to remove these plugs. When you remove the plug, there's a grease level. The bottom mark is for add one tube of corn head gear case grease. The top tube is the full mark. Now you want to run the corn head for about 5 minutes to let the grease get good and warm and get everything settled in there to make sure you're getting an accurate reading, and then check your level and then fill. To fill it, simply come over here to this grease Zerk and use your grease gun and pump one tube of grease in when it gets to that lower mark. The next thing we want to look at are our deck plates. Our deck plates, you need to close them all the way up. Close your hydraulic deck plates all the way up, and then you want to check and make sure that your gap is correct. The front gap is 11/16 between the two. The top gap should be 3/4 of an inch between the two blades. Now the reason you want a little wider at the back is just to allow for better trash flow through the deck plates. Now to set that, you're going to move the stationary blade. Now the blade on the left hand side as you're sitting in the seat, this one is going to be the blade that moves with your hydraulics. So this one you're not going to bother. The one on this side that is stationary, that's going to be the one you're going to actually set your gap with. I've got 3 bolts, 2 on the front, 1 at the rear. You'll loosen those up. You don't need to take them out, just loosen them. And then adjust your blade in and out to get your gap set properly. Again, it's 11/16 at the front and 3/4 at the back with it all the way closed. Moving on down the row unit, we want to adjust our gathering chain tension. Our gathering chain, we want to make sure it's properly tensioned. And the way to do that, you've got a spacer right here on a bolt with a spring, and there's a gap right here between the washer and the spacer. That gap should be 3/16 of an inch, and when you set that, that's going to properly tension your chain. Now over the season, as the season goes, you're going to want to check that from time to time because the chain will stretch a little bit, and then you're going to want to readjust it. If the chain gets too loose, it can jump the cog. If it's too tight, it's going to wear the chain out quicker than what would be considered normal wear. So you want to check this periodically throughout the season. Moving on down, our sprockets. You'll notice that there are no grease Zerks on the 600 series corn head sprockets as there was on the 90 series, and there is no daily maintenance on them. One thing to notice, there are these edges right here, and these edges actually made up with the link, and that helps remove some of the drive torque off of the tooth itself. Just going to give your sprockets longer life. Now if your sprockets start to get cupped as they start to wear, you can actually flip them over and get that wear. You can add more life to your sprocket by just flipping it over and reusing it again. And that's how we check and maintain our corn head gear cases. On a 2012 600 series corn head, they've changed the procedure and the oil that we use for our gearboxes. We still have a dipstick like we had on the 2008 to 2011 models, and we still have a lower mark and an upper mark. But instead of using corn head grease like we've used in the past, you'll notice there's no grease zerks present. We're going to use 8090 or 85140 gear lube. If it's at the bottom mark, now again, you're going to want to run the head for about 5 minutes to make sure it's warm, and then check it with the header raised and the safety stop down. But once you check it, if it's at the bottom mark, it takes about a half a quart to get it to the top mark. So if it's down at the add line, which is the lower mark, it takes about a half a quart to get it all the way to the top mark. And again, we're using a gear lube like an 85140 or an 8090. Here we have the header height sensing arm that's on the center snout. Now if you have a 8-row or 12-row corn head, you'll have one on the center snout and you'll have one on the next to outer snout on each side of the corn head. Now this is simply a pivoting sensor, but notice it only goes so far forward. Do not back up with the corn head on the ground. Make sure you raise it up a little bit to allow these sensors to come on down before you back up. If you do, this can catch and get in the mud, and it can actually do some damage to the sensor mechanism itself. If you want to put it on a head cart, these will hang down as well. So before you put it on a head cart, it's probably a good idea to pin them. Simply raise the arm from the down up to the up position, push in on the keeping pin, then to let it back down. Take the pressure off of the arm, pull out on the pin, let the arm back down into the field position. And that's how you adjust the sensor arm on your corn head. Once you've adjusted the auger to the proper position, or if your chain becomes loose on your auger drive, this is the location you want to adjust the auger drive chain. And this is on the left-hand side of the corn head in front of the ladder on the combine. To adjust it, you got your hardware you need to loosen, and then move this bracket with a hammer. You can tap it down until you get the chain properly tensioned, and that's about 3/8 inch of up and down travel. Retighten your hardware, and that's how you adjust the chain for your auger. On your corn head, as you get debris build up as the season goes by, if you need to clean your corn head auger trough out, there's an inspection as well as a clean out door on each end of the corn head. To open those up, simply pull out on the pin and let the door down to gain access to the auger trough. Now, being mindful that you need to put those back because you can take them off, and if you leave them off as you travel down the highway with the cart, they will fall off. But just make sure that you reassemble them, repin them before you go back and put it on the cart. And that's how you clean out the auger trough from your corn head. Next, we want to talk about adjusting the auger height in the auger trough. Most times, for most conditions, the factory setting is going to be probably okay. If you're doing things like food corn or you're extra concerned about grain quality, you'll want to actually move this plate up to the next hole, and you'll want to run these slots all the way up. And what that will do, that will get the auger high enough that an ear of corn will be able to pass underneath of the auger flighting without touching. Then you have ears of grain moving, ears of grain, and that will be gentler on your grain. Especially for the food corn guys, this is a big area for reducing damage, and that's how you adjust the auger in the corn head. Moving on with our program, checking the oil in your drive chain, oil bath reservoir out here. You've got a plug in the front. You want to lower the corn head all the way down on the ground and then take this plug out, and that's how you'll check your oil level in your outer gear cases. If you do change the oil, which you should do every 200 hours or basically once a season, you'll want to completely drain it on the inside, and there's a drain plug in there which we'll show you later. And then add about a quart is about what it should hold to make that level correct. And then just pull your check out, make sure you add enough to make sure that you're getting the oil here at the check point. And that's how you check the oil level in your reservoirs. On the inside front of your reservoir, there's a drain plug right here. Remove this cap screw, and that's how you drain the oil when you want to change the oil in your reservoirs for your drive chains. One of the other grease zerks that we need to check out when we're maintaining our corn head and servicing it, there is a grease zerk on each power shaft on the left and right side for 8 and 12 rows. This zerk is there for the telescoping portion of the shaft, and you need to grease that every 50 hours or so. Give it a few shots of grease just to make it easier to slide your power shafts in and out. And that's one of the only few grease zerks other than the corn head gear case. This is the slip clutch for your row unit. It is for the chopping portion and the knife rolls as well on a chopping corn head. This slip clutch you need to give 10 pumps of grease about every 200 hours, and it's located on the rear drive shaft. On a 2012 chopping head, we have a rear plug on our chopping gear case, and that plug is right here on the rear. And what you want to do is every 200 hours you want to pull that plug out and make sure that the gear lube is at the bottom of the plug hole. You will use 80/90 or 85/140, and it's right next to the chopping and the row unit slip clutch. Remove the plug with the corn head up and check the level. Now we're looking at the chopping gear case front level check plug. There is a rear one as well. You want to remove the plug with the header raised, and the gear lube should be at the bottom of the check plug. We want to use 80/90 or 85/140. Right next to that is the disengagement lever, so you can disengage the chopping portion of the row unit.